welcome again to Chatbots for Coaches. Today, I have a friend and an expert that you're gonna love. We're gonna be talking about a lot of the things that you're probably thinking about bots. And he's got a special treat for us. His name is Danny Monzon. He's in New York right now, and he's going to tell us how he got started in digital marketing. So welcome, Danny, to the Chatbots for Coaches Summit.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Anna, for bringing me on board this amazing lineup of leaders in our space who have been invited. I'm here actually in Jacksonville, Florida, but I grew up in New York City. So that's probably why you remember New York. That's where my story begins, actually, in marketing. My story begins in 1999, not as young as I look, but I got a job at an agency on Broadway in Manhattan, New York. So little did I know that was going to be my school, so to speak, into marketing. That's where I got exposed to a lot of creative copywriters and the science of interpreting data. So I didn't know that I was training to be in the chatbot world, but this is where I'm at now. I did a lot of different fields of marketing, if you will. I did the network marketing, the MLM stuff, right? I did a lot of traditional marketing, and now in the digital world where we're living. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Has anybody seen a sudden shift in attention? Well, I think that for you coaches who are watching this, and it's not for coaches, but I believe that your audience could also benefit from these conversations here with these leaders who have been invited that range from bloggers, from speakers, network marketing leaders, and everybody who is developing their personal brands.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, sorry about the location stuff. See, I always, that's why I let my speakers introduce themselves, because if not, I make all the mistakes.
No, that's cool. I'm actually grateful that I am here in Florida rather than in New York right now.
Oh yeah, no, I would be too. Absolutely. So Danny, tell us why you did transition to bots as a personal brand. Like, what benefits did you have when it came to choosing this strategy? Because we know that they're all marketing strategies, right? It's not like we are replacing the other ones, but we're like focusing on that one. So like, what benefits did you rip from all this, basically, and adding it to your own marketing?
Yeah, so the reason I got involved in this space out of an array of different micro niches in digital marketing, right, was because I attended a webinar some 3 years ago. It was in 2017, right? Inside of a community that you and I are very involved with, right? I saw a webinar there and I liked what I saw. I saw an early version of what we are now working with as far as software, and I liked it and I tried it and things were working for me. I understood some of this logic that these bots perform, right? And I told myself, if this is here to stay, because you and I know that a lot of things come and go in our space, right? So I said to myself, if this stays, if this has longevity, I'm going to study this thing, right? But I was very cautious to not corner myself as a chatbot agency, right? I was cautious about that. It was the first conference in 2018 by the leaders in this space. Can we say their name?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't see
So it was the first conference by ManyChat, 2018. I'm in front row, right? Very excited. And I saw two of Facebook's Messenger program say from stage that Messenger marketing is here to stay and ManyChat is our preferred chatbot partner. that's when in my mind, I said, okay, that is the sign that I needed to hear, that I needed to witness for me to take this to the next level. Now, the next thing I did was, okay, who are the best players in this game? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna learn from the people who have achieved what I want to achieve, right? I mean, isn't that what people should do, right? Uh, well, some of the benefits that I saw in coming back to answering your question was that this creates automation, right? A lot of us are seduced by automation, right? Creating or sharing your message, sharing your experiences, right? In an automated manner, in a way that touches people, in a way that drives people towards you, and people are attracted to you and your unique message. It all could be automated, right? We are students of attraction marketing, right? So I saw that automation part, but I also saw the fact that some people were going to have some resistance towards that. And I think that we're still debunking some misconceptions about chat bots, because bots are not created equal, right? There are different platforms, there are different skill sets and levels of skills that make chatbots different, right? So hopefully today we get to debunk some of these misconceptions that are there.
Yeah, I know for sure that I had a lot of misconceptions when I got into this space as well. I thought that I was going to be spammy, and I was trying to run away from the spammy. So I was like, no, I'm not getting back into that. But like you said, no bot, no conversation is equal. And I want to do that transition between the bot and the conversation, because we're talking about having a personalized conversation with someone in their messenger inbox. That's way more personal than an email.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't see that until I had to go through my own trainings as well and see the power of it. I was like, I'll just try this thing and see if it works. And it did. So what kind of misconceptions did you have? Like I that was my main one. And I think that's one of my biggest misconception with my clients, is that they don't want to let go the control of answering personally to their audience.
Yes, and there's a there's a lot of misconceptions. One of the early misconceptions that I had is that, now that I look back some almost 3 years later, is that this environment, this ecosystem would stay the same, right? That, okay, we have now this platform. We witnessed the separation from Facebook and Messenger, right? And now we can automate conversations here, right? I was naive to think that that framework that existed 3 years ago, the rules, the right, the software that we use, in fact, would probably stay the same, and I would not have to learn something again. Well, I was wrong. As a freelancer who, before my agency started, I wanted to look at something that I could scale, that I didn't have to be there all the time, right? Well, it turns out that with chatbots, you have to constantly learn. You have to constantly learn, because the space is changing, because the platforms are changing, because there are different governing entities when it comes to automation in different countries, even in different states, right? So that's when it dawned on me that, geez, this has more longevity than I thought it did. Because guess what? Anybody can build a chatbot. I mean, an account on ManyChat is free, but not everyone can adapt a bot to a brand, right? Precisely to that brand's journey, to that brand's language, right? So that presented an opportunity to me, right? That same challenge presented an opportunity. And I think that's what coaches um, see right now in the market, in a change where now there's no conferences, live conferences, at least for this year, it seems. So what are coaches having to do now? Speakers, right? People who would sell from stage, right? What are they doing now that are taking them out of their comfort zone, right? So that same challenge is going to create an opportunity if you take action.
Yes. Wow. Yes. And I think that's one of the fears coaches have as well. Since it's ever changing, it's like, oh my God, something new to learn. And we feel that and we know that it's not easy. But if they're here, right, they understand the value that this is going to give their brands. It's going to give the brands a voice, a touch point between you and the lead before they actually get on the phone with the coaches, because most coaches want to book calls, right, because we can sell on calls. So when it comes to that misconception that, okay, Facebook changed the rules again, it's not a misconception, it's reality. Facebook will change the rules, and not just Facebook. This is global. You can use there's other chat platforms, but that's way more techy. So we're not going to talk about that because it's going to change and it's going to become user friendly, right? We know that because we've been through this process already. But I know that that fear that it's ever changing, I think that we can help them ease it with them knowing their plan, right? Knowing what they have to talk, what kind of bot to use, right? Because you talk about no bots are equal, but I know that some bots can be policy proof, that can help your leads get the information, for example. So how do we help coaches get rid of that fear?
Yes. So that fear, we have to understand where that fear comes from, right? In order to alleviate that fear, right? So I believe that that fear comes from misconceptions and from the unknown, right? So coaches probably have thrived in traditional ways of doing businesses, right? Personalized, right? Very involved, result driven, right? So when Facebook, when these digital platforms change rules, right, and people don't follow the rules, there are consequences, right? So we hear it almost daily
Yeah.
in the communities where we belong. You know, they shut down my brand or my extension to my brand, let's just say, on Facebook, right? They shut down my messenger communication, right? Well, that came in for the most part because a rule was violated. So now other coaches, other people in their circles, they're hearing these things, and now they're just totally against bots or against automation. So they pull the plug on their programs, on their tactics that they had, and they're missing the mark on the fact that there's still very lucrative ways of automating the way you communicate with your students, right? With your downline, with there's an array of ways that you can insert a bot and make it. First of all, when something like this is so early adoption, because we're still in the very early stages of this space. And if these people don't want to learn something new, well, my my advice is don't let Sally at the front desk build a bot for you. Hire a pro, right? Hire someone who is in the trenches that is going to eliminate those potential compliance mishaps that can
Yeah.
get you in trouble, right? Don't just pull the plug on the program on your marketing, because now this automation is becoming uh, the nucleus of how you communicate with your clients. I mean, you just told me, you shared that one of your clients chose to do things manually,
Yes.
and you shared with me the amount of hours that it took that person in doing so. Well, I think that in the e-economy, in the new e-dash economy, we need to pay more attention about the tools that are readily available, that are, and the people who are dominating these tools, the people who are finding results, right? Versus the people who are just injecting fear into the marketplace.
Yeah, you're so right. It's such a time savior when you take the time to learn how to use it. And I think that this fear of learning another tool has to be broken because, like you said, the economy. No more speaking on stages for a while. No more mass events. Not even weddings. So we gotta get creative, and the tools, like a lot of people had to learn how to use this tool that we're using right now, which is called Zoom,
Yeah.
right? And it's not to give an announcement or anything about their brand, but it's like an example. And I think that bots can actually be way powerful and the first point of contact. Like my client that took 40 hours in answering messages by herself manually could have saved that time and energy to serve those 10 or 20 that were going to actually invest in her business
Sure.
instead of just, carrying that weight, and spend more time with the things that we value the most now, because things have changed, and things that we used to value before don't matter right now, and new things are going to start mattering to us. And I don't know about you, Danny, or them, right, that are watching. Maybe you could tell us a story about how it has helped you. But in my lowest days, bot has saved my business, answering messages immediately for me when I couldn't even pick up the phone because I was in a whirl of depression. And my business kept growing because of this little tool that I added at the beginning of my funnel so people could ask questions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like we could talk about the leverage of this. They always sell us the dream, right? Like, oh, you're going to make money in your sleep. This is it, I think, because it answers your questions immediately and it gives you a good standing on Facebook too.
Yeah. So when it comes to the speed or response, there's a metric that they have, right? I
Yeah,
forget.
they have it.
Yeah, it'll improve that out of other metrics that people should pay attention, right? Depending on where in the strategy this bot is inserted, right? Um, but for me personally, I think that the, uh, the 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 opportunity gave me a true north as an agency, right? So there's so many agencies with social media and with um, new platforms, right? There's more opportunity for people to get involved in learning these platforms, in teaching these platforms, in creating something worthwhile, right? But here's the thing: more people, especially now. I mean, where a lot of people lost their jobs, where a lot of industries are, practically gone. Where's people going to drive to now? Digital. Oh, I'm going to be the next social media guy. I'm going to be a designer, and that's great, you know. But there's going to be more competition there, right? There's going to be more. Your message is going to be more watered down, so to speak, right?
Right.
How can you stand above all this digital noise, if you will, right? So when I identified some of the people that are achieving things that I would want to achieve and that were willing to teach me, because I was always a willing student, right? And there's a story behind that, and it's actually ironic because I negotiated my way out of high school, not because I was a bad student, just because I was just not interested in the things that I was being taught, right? But when I find something that I believe in, I obsess over it, about learning how to do it, right? Since a little kid playing soccer to now, right? But for a coach, let's dive into the coach practice. Coaches thrive on what? On attendance, on selling programs, masterminds, right? On high ticket offerings, right? And for that, you require people, right? You require attention. And there are people right now that are wondering, geez, how am I going to continue to nurture my audience if I have, first of all, the restrictions inside of Facebook, and now the restrictions in traveling and in getting in front of an audience where you can continue to, to enhance your practice, right? So we found a solution. We found something, that an element that bypasses a lot of that, that allows people, allows coaches, and this is not by theory, because we had experiences with some of the top guys in that field, in that space, generating worthwhile launches in the past 2 years. So it wasn't just a fluke, it's been a proven system. We have to understand that with the evolution of the platform, there comes more flexibility, right? Now we're integrating messenger bots with other tools that allows to read data, that allows to generate other mediums to communicate with our audience. And that was the center of my conversation here today, because I think that there's a lot of fear spreads fast, as we have all seen, right? Fear spreads so fast, right? So we see it at different levels, at the global level and at the chatbot level, right? At the coaching level, right? So we need to be more proactive in giving people the antidote, which is facts, right? Which is solutions that are data driven, that are cutting edge. And now we have found ways of bypassing those restrictions. We have found ways of getting in touch, continuing to get in touch with people's audiences without losing that human touch, if you will, that human, a human feeling. So if you have a coaching practice and you are skeptic or fearful, let me call you out, because you're a coach. You preach self-education. You preach getting out of the comfort zone, right? So rest assured that there are coaches at their higher levels utilizing messenger marketing the smart way. There's a basic way, but there are smart ways of doing things.
Okay, so Danny, tell us how we can help the coaches create some policy proof bots, because you said that not all bots are equal. And I know that inside the policies, inside Messenger, we can create some bots that are policy proof. So how do we do that?
Yeah, so in order to answer that question, let me go back to how coaches were doing things before automation, right? So they were bringing people to their conferences. Most coaches were offering something when they had an opportunity to get in front of many people, right? When they started adopting webinars and things like that, so same model, right? Drive people to your segment and then provide value and sell stuff, right? But before you bring people to your segment, you got to give them something. You got to give them a reason why, right? There comes the lead magnets and the funnels and the cheat sheets and all that stuff, right? That has worked for a while. Well, guess what? People are becoming more immune to that process. People are becoming more aware that if I give you an email address, and you're gonna send me something, you're gonna send me some emails that I'm probably not gonna read. So I'm gonna give you my fake or my spammy email address that I, right? I mean, um, that is the journey of that evolution, right? That is how things happen. I did it so many times. I still do it. I find things that I want to learn, and I sign up with my Yahoo account, right, or my whatever account. So, how do we create custom chat automation that is bulletproof, right? That is, or you mentioned not bulletproof, but
Policy proof.
policy proof. So we have to be a little careful when mentioning things like this, right? Because I don't know if when this is aired or when this is in the internet a year from now, let's say, and I'm mentioning something and policies change, then it was not policy proof, right? So, for instance, coaches can still have a bot that's very simple, that's very basic, that's not going to be playing with fire, so to speak. That you're not gonna get burned. There's no way because you're not playing with that fire, right? Very basic sign up bots that drive people to sign up. I'm sorry. People,
Breathe.
okay, thank you. I'm so glad you're editing this.
I was not gonna, but sure.
Coaches can implement very basic automation in that process, right? Maybe not the entire process, but pieces of that process. That's when we take on a new client, we have to understand what they have in place in order for us to say, oh, a chatbot is going to solve your problems and it's going to answer every question. We have to understand in what part of that process we are introducing the automation, right? So if it's not from A to Z, we can maybe automate A to B without thinking that we're breaking any rules, right? So what's A to B, for instance? A to B could mean, driving people from an ad to signing up for a course or for a webinar, right? A to B, very simple, right? Now, what's the value there? People or coaches are gathering some basic data of people who raise their hand and say, hey, I want to learn that. So they can later communicate with them in a way that's not going to violate the rules. What's that? On an email, right? There's no restrictions on email, right? You don't have to think, geez, has it been 24 hours since I sent them an email? You don't, right? So that could be a very basic way of solving that, right? Another way that people can do this is on stage, for instance, right? You're on stage, you're speaking, or let's just say you're on a webinar,
Virtual. Virtual stage.
Yes, you're on a webinar on a page like this, and you have an attendance with you, and you show them a QR code, or you put a link on your chat, right? Now that can trigger an automation that's simple, that is going to take the person from point A to point B, or B to C, whatever you want to say, right? So we can create simple, bulletproof way chatbots that are safe, that are friendly, that communicate with your audience. But we could also create other platforms, other systems that are more robust, that are more complex. But guess what? The people that are building these systems are also more knowledgeable, are also more in tune with the governing entities, not only in social media and digital, but also with the FTC, with the GDPR, with the laws that we need to abide by. So we could create and integrate now something basic, and grow arms and legs. What do I mean by that? Integrations, right? Now we can have simple integrations that when a person enters your chatbot, their name, last name, and other basic data can go into a spreadsheet, into a CRM. Very simple, straightforward integration, right? You're not breaking any rules. You shouldn't have to be anxious about that extension. Okay, what's the next one? And continuing to add tentacles now into other more sophisticated ways and smart ways of building bridges, digital bridges that allow you to get in touch with your audience. And coaches, they know that you need multiple touches in order to get somebody to come to your event, to your webinar, to sell them into a high ticket offer, right? To get them to finalize that course that you just sold them, right? You sold them on a course and you told them, yeah, I'll be there to support you. But how do I get in touch with you now, right? So that's when we integrate mobile wallet. Mobile wallet now has presented a channel of communication that bypasses ethically some of those restrictions and mentally some of those fears that exist in some of these people who are overly cautious.
Yeah, that's so cool that we can use Messenger with other apps that integrate. And this is like a little techie, but I think they're following us. I think they're still following us. That can actually enhance the user experience. And I always talk about creating these irresistible experiences for your leads, where you take them from on a customer's journey, but on a different journey that they were used to, because like Danny just said, people are used to putting the email and getting the PDF file. But what if this time they would have to answer a quiz before that? Right? You could get creative with the point A to point B situation, right? You could filter in the 24 hours that Facebook gives us. But if you don't only need 24 hours and you need to nurture people, and there's like an event, you can add those apps, right? You can use mobile wallet, and you can use integrations like Zapier and Integromat for the bot to do other stuff like Danny said, right? Get it into the CRM, get it into Google Sheets, and always being and playing by the rules. Just because I gotta make like a clarification here maybe to like cover our 3 letters. Just because you have the information of people on Google Sheets, that doesn't mean that you can go ahead and give them away, sell them, or anything like that. You got to be careful with people's information. You got it there inside the system so you can actually communicate with them. But like Danny mentioned, the GDPR rule, it's so important that we have that ability to delete those stuff. So Google Sheet is easy. You just go and delete the information from the lead that doesn't want to be there anymore as well. That's the other thing. So yeah, so Danny, that's like a little bit more techie, and I think we could go a little bit more techie. So we can also add text messages, right? So what about people that want to give us their phone? Like, what would you recommend so they don't become spammy? Because also that we have less restrictions in text as well, but I don't want coaches to go and just go spamming on that mobile wallet push notification, right? What would you recommend so like they keep it under brand, right? Under their message and all that.
Sure. So now with new functionality inside of the software that we use to deploy these chatbots, which include SMS, which include email and other integrations in the, if I mention integrations, Anna described it very, very well, very simple. It enhances the bot's functionality, right? So it does more. It becomes faster, sexier, and more effective, right? So when we do that, we also have to pay attention to, okay, which app am I connecting this bot with? Is this app legit? Is this app following its own environment's rules and regulations, right? Is this message, or am I communicating with people that include countries in the European Union, right? These are now questions inside of some of our onboarding documentation that I need to know. That way I start knowing how to craft a strategy, right? So the functionality is and will continue to become greater, to enhance functionality, and to impact more people, in fact. So for coaches, this should be actually an exciting time. Yes, there are a lot of negative news and outcomes, but I think that with every challenge comes opportunity, right? And coaches, I think that it's a perfect time for coaches to be coached, because this represents an opportunity to impact more people,
Yes.
right? If you had 100 people in your live seminar in the past, guess what? You can now have more if you play the game right.
Yes.
You can now have more if you understand really who you're talking to, and you bring in a team of people who are going to support you, who have been playing that game for longer, right? It's so interesting how all of the things that we've been raving about this past, I don't know, 5-6 years, that people have shrugged it off, are now like, oh, I should go talk to that person because they introduced something like that. And now the attention has shifted, right?
Right.
So now coaches can impact more people with automation if it's done correctly. And with that comes more revenue.
And not only more revenue, I know that a lot of the coaches watching, actually, the impact is greater for their clients.
Sure.
They get better results through automation, and they're very grateful. I've noticed that people that are interested in what you're going to be teaching are 100% grateful that you sent them that push notification to let them know that it just started, for example. Yeah. Or any message that they subscribe to. Personally, I haven't had anybody like be super angry at me because of a message they wanted to receive through that. Maybe haters, like maybe a couple, but not the ones that were really interested. And that's the opportunity coaches have here, to filter out who's not really interested and make more impact with the chatbots, with the little messages and having conversations. And I think that you would advise the same as I would, which is jump into the conversation, right? If people are asking other questions and you're in the bot and they're coming through and you want to talk to your lead, jump right in and do it. I think that that would be super cool for your leads. And you can tell them that it's yourself. I think that takes me to the other question, like how can we personalize it without lying that it's us answering the message, right? Because we cannot lie that it's us when we're automating it, because that would create ethical.
Sure, especially in California. So California, the state of California in the US has a unique law that is, when you're using automation, you have to disclose that this is not a real person and all that stuff, right? So how can we continue to personalize that message with automation, right? Coaches thrive again on those personal, involved relationships, right? I mean, I'm not gonna have a coach that is only gonna be in touch with me once a year or twice a year, right? I need a coach that's more involved. I need a coach that that is results driven, that is gonna hold me accountable. And for that, you need to communicate, right? So one of the ways that people can do that still without, like you said, lying and saying, you know, this is me talking to you, is by disclosing that exactly. Hey, this is Anna's personal assistant, How can I serve you? Or hey, this is Danny's digital clone. I'm smarter than him. You know, really personalize those conversations, add the humor, add the, you know, the those human emotions that are in human conversations. You can still be funny. Your bot can be an extension of that, right? I I have built stuff that has, you know, those elements. And what that does in your automation is it lessens the robotic sequences. It lessens the friction or the resistance that is inside of a person when interacting with a bot, right? If you, what was your initial reaction when I said this is Danny's personal, this is Danny's virtual clone, and I'm
I
smarter than
laughed.
him? I mean, you laughed, right?
I laughed,
So
and that breaks the ice. And then
that breaks
people
the
are
ice.
like, "Oh, your bot is so funny. I loved it."
Exactly. So you need to add those personalized conversations that are going to trigger human emotion, right? Not only the trigger that the news are promoting right now, which is fear, and there's value in fear marketing, just not the way they're doing it, but also possibilities, right? Dreams, enhance their, you know, what they're feeling. So that's why you need to know, how is this bot going to be utilized, not just here plug and play and there he goes, right?
Yeah,
One of
that's
the,
super important that you just said that, because they're humans that are reading those messages. Humans that have feelings, needs, wants, fears, and they're there in your bot wanting to connect with you,
that's right,
right?
that's right.
And
One,
that's so important that you said that, because it's so key that we take that prejudgment of the robotic and change the perspective into, this is going to be my hand holding to the leaf, right? My personalized help, so that they feel wanted and cared for, because people are not numbers, they're like people.
that's right, yes. And we data driven marketers, right, sometimes
We miss that.
pay attention to those numbers, those conversion rates, and etc. But we forget that at the end of that screen, on the other side of that screen, there's a human being, right? And that when that human being has questions, concerns, and skepticism, it's probably going to ask you a question, right? So you're throwing a message out. Guess what? You're going to get some incoming messages. So having a response strategy also needs to be in place before you even launch anything that includes automation. What's going to be your response? You can't expect the bot to be programmed to respond every single question accurately. That probably will happen at some point. Scary, but not
Scary.
today. So a response strategy, guess what? It involves human beings, right?
Oh yes,
It
that,
involves
yes, exactly. I was about to go there. Like, would you recommend them automating completely, for example? We still need humans. I've noticed in this crisis that the fact that, for example, Facebook headquarters doesn't have all of its employees there has affected us marketers.
yeah,
And it's weird because it's supposed to be all online, but we still need that human connection, that
sure.
human understanding. And the bot, we can make it as personalized as possible. And then the assistant can jump in. They don't have to do it themselves, right? The assistant can jump in and finalize the booking of the call, or just let the bot do that and then confirm manually.
Sure.
Because manually you have less restrictions. Like, if you go directly to the inbox of Facebook's fan page, you can answer to your leads normally, no matter what time it is. But keep the time zones like figured out, guys. Don't be sending messages at 3 a.m.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes. So, Danny, what can you tell us to the coaches? Like, what would you recommend for them to make it more, besides, adding the humor and all that, like for the strategy, like any closing words or any recommendations you would give them, so that they can just go ahead and get rid of the misconceptions and take action.
Sure. So all of us have concerns when what we have been building for a while is being either attacked or it's in danger, right? So we become protective. So it's natural that fear is going to trigger some illogical decisions, right? That's fine. I've done it. I'm guilty as charged, right? However, fear is eliminated with information and with accurate information, right? However, it takes time, efforts, and resources to get that information, to digest it, apply it, and find results, right? So you want to shorten that path, right? Hire a team. Hire a team of people who know their game. Hire a team of people who have proven what they're saying. Have people who not only are building nice bots, but how are you going to drive traffic to this bot now, right? Maybe the people who build this bot, they're not experts at driving qualified traffic to that bot. So be aware that there are different parts of that process that makes the performance of the bot and the team be enhanced and be optimized, and then you will be able to impact more people. So it all goes down to self-education, right? More people than ever right now are looking, how do I make money online, right? And fortunately or unfortunately for some, you can't just print it and you can't just click and drop. You have to learn, and that takes time. You didn't get here overnight. I didn't get here overnight. None of the people who you are interviewing here got there overnight. So shorten that path, that learning curve, and hire somebody who's going to teach you something that's going to, maybe you can exchange services. You can coach that person. I need coaching every day. Right? And you and your team can benefit from someone sharing some of that information.
Yes, that's great advice. If we don't want to learn, if we don't have time to learn, and if it's better someone else that already has experience, outsource it. That's the great advice. Great advice.
Sure.
So thank you so much, Danny, for being here. Thank you so much for helping me get this message through to the coaches to start using the chat marketing strategies. So Danny, tell us what you have as a surprise for everybody that's going to be super helpful for them. Go ahead.
Yeah, so first of all, I wanted to say thank you for what you're doing, not only in the community where we move, but also, with the people who are making an impact for other people who we don't have access to, right? So we are, in essence, creating a ripple of personal development and such. So thank you for your commitment. And for those of you who are here in this special summit for coaches, I found a case study from last year where 3 coaches who are worldwide renowned participated in this launch, and they used automation to enhance the way they communicated with their audience. And where the result is very thorough, it's about 60 pages long. Take those learning opportunities and see how you can apply some of those elements to your practice.
Awesome. So we can name drop because we have the guys that did this bot in this series. I interviewed them as well. So you're going to know more about this, what Danny is giving us, but it's a case study that these were world-renowned coaches. That's a hard word for me. World-renowned coaches have implemented in their bots. So you're going to see the names below. We're going to keep it a mystery here on the video, but I think that this is extremely valuable to every single coach so they can see behind the scenes of a multi-million-dollar launch.
Yeah.
Real one. We ain't making this up. So thank you, Danny, for that case study. It's going to be super helpful for the audience here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I will see you guys in the next interview. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you. And if you have any questions, I will put links below this with social media and all that. So if you have questions for Danny, you can ask him as well. Anything else that you would like to say before we wrap this up, Danny?
I want to say that you're doing an amazing job. I see your commitment to not only your clients, but to your own personal development. So thank you for the value that you're providing through this community, through this summit. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Danny. Thank you, everybody, for being here. God bless you. And I'll see you in the next one.
Bye.